This is The Bottom Line with Boney Mua.
Today, we have as our guest Edith Kah Walla, a political actor, social activist, and entrepreneur. Madam Kah Walla, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you again, but to be on The Bottom Line for the first time.
Thank you very much. Yes, we're going to talk about two aspects of you, the political part of you and the social activism. For the past couple of days, I mean, we've seen you siding with Madam, the barrister Alice Combs. I mean, what is the relationship between you and Alice Combs?
Oh, Alice Combs is somebody that the way I address her is grande sœur. She's a big sister. We don't have any family relationship, but she's a big sister in the fight for fundamental rights in Cameroon. This is a woman who has, she was the first woman on the French-speaking part of the country to become a lawyer. On the English-speaking part of the country, it was Madame Weleji, but she, on the French-speaking part, was the first woman to become a lawyer. She has been in battles. Many people don't know this about her. She joined the SDF in the 90s.
Just like you.
Exactly. And she has been in the battles for fundamental rights without compromising herself on political pettiness, I can put it that way. So the attack that we saw on the institution of REDAC. REDAC is probably one of the best human rights known NGOs in Cameroon, known nationally, known in Central Africa, and known internationally. When we have a minister of the Republic of Cameroon,
Minister of Territorial Administration,
who comes and accuses an institution of financing terrorism, and that accusation is made without a single element of fact. That minister did not say, oh, we saw a transfer of funds which went in this direction or in this direction, and therefore we suspect that something was wrong. He did not say, here is a correspondence where the wording is, we are feeling like this wording is not correct. He did not say, oh, here is a picture of a meeting. Just nothing. I mean, it is incredible, it is unfathomable. We cannot accept this in Cameroon. And we cannot accept it because we are in an electoral year. The Minister of Territorial Administration, per our analysis, is at the forefront of the CPDM campaign. He is doing CPDM campaign with our tax CFA. He's taking our taxes on official time when he's supposed to be working for us. This is a minister, crisis in the north with flooding and displaced people. He provided no concrete solution. This is a minister, Anglophone crisis. This is somebody who was at the origin of the Anglophone crisis. In fact, he was supposed to lose his job for the fact that he was amongst the people who instigated the Anglophone crisis. And till today, he's not able to provide any solution to that crisis. We have the Boko Haram crisis. This is a minister who has worked questions of drugs, which have invaded our society. Urban criminality invaded our society. Where is this minister? He's nowhere to be found, but he's busy attacking NGOs that defend our human rights. We could not stand aside for this.
Why I started with the social activism part of you is because before coming to the studio for this interview, you've been summoned several times, and you were just from Yaoundé. You were summoned by the gendarmerie.
Yes.
What happened, and why are they summoning you all the time?
You know, I I see this very openly and very clearly. I've been saying it for years. We live in a dictatorship in Cameroon. Some people say to me, but Madam Kah Walla, you say we live in a dictatorship, but here you are giving an interview and talking freely. A dictatorship does not mean that you cannot talk freely. It does not mean that you cannot have a political party. I'm the president of a political party. Dictatorship is simply arbitrary violence. It means that we live in a country where you are never sure of anything. You can say something today, and you go walking about doing your business. Nobody bothers you. You say the exact same thing tomorrow, and you are arrested for it. So the case in Yaoundé, I just came back last night, yesterday, from Yaoundé, where I was questioned by what we know in Cameroon as the SED, the Secrétariat d'État de la Défense. This name terrorizes people in Cameroon because it is a center of torture. The SED is cited in report after report after report on torture in Cameroon as a center of torture. I was not tortured, and I was there. You cited the case about Maître Alice Combs. Maître Alice Combs was attacked by the Minister of Territorial Administration, or REDAC, that she is a president of. Then we saw a personal attack against her by some obscure NGO that nobody has ever heard of. We only hear of them when it comes to attacks against people who are fighting for freedom in Cameroon. And when this NGO laid a case against her, myself and Maître Sim, we wrote to the military court and said, the complaint against Maître Alice Combs is about a meeting which took place in Munich in 2019. If you want to attack Maître Alice Combs, please attack us too, because we were at that meeting. We are sure that at that meeting there was no discussion about terrorism, there was no discussion about financing terrorism, there was no discussion about anything that is in that complaint against Maître Alice Combs. So if you want to hear her, you must hear us too. I think we are entering a critical political period in Cameroon, and Cameroonians need to understand this. We must stand firm on human rights. The first fight is for human rights. You cannot talk about elections, you cannot talk about a political system, you cannot talk about anything corruption if you do not have fundamental human rights. And on those rights, we must, across political ideologies, between the civil society, the church, the political parties, we must all come together and say human rights are a societal issue. They are not an issue for political parties. They are not an issue for NGOs. They are an issue of citizenship. And we must be uncompromising on this. This is what Maître Sim and I did. And that is why I was questioned at the set.
But luckily you came back scot-free.
Yes, I was not worried even for a moment. Thank you to all the Cameroonians who were very worried for me. There were a lot of Cameroonians who were very, very worried and who contacted me, who contacted the party, and I want to thank them. And of course, they are right to be worried because, as I said, this Secrétariat d'État de la Défense is known for torture. So this is what creates the fear in the population. But for all of us, because I was the last, Maître Alice Combs has been heard, Maître Sim was heard, I was heard. None of us felt that the interview was carried out with the reason why we are there is absurd, and it is a waste of our time and of the taxpayers' money. But in the conduct of the interviews, there was no foul play.
Goshen Land City, a cozy way of living at home, away from home. A majestic twin tower situated at Limbe, opposite the entrance to Mile 6 Beach Limbe. Beautifully couched between Mount Cameroon and the Atlantic Ocean. We offer various packages: business class lodges with 2 bedrooms, executive apartments with 3 bedrooms, royal attic suites with 2 bedrooms, all provided with luxurious sitting rooms, Porsche bedrooms, well-equipped functional kitchens, exquisite toilets, and sea-view verandas, giving you an idea of Equatorial Guinea by night. A standby generator ensuring constant electricity supply, full autonomy and clean running water, Wi-Fi, TV packages, secure parkings, plus laundry, shuttle, and car rental services available. We are ideally suited for couple, family, or group stays. Whether visiting or holidaying in the tourist city of Limbe, Goshen Land City is your best bet. Discover Goshen Land City for its exquisite beauty, and you'll come back for its impeccable services. Contact us at 675-113-244 or 688-358-436.
Yeah, this is the build up to the 2025 presidential elections. We know that we just have about a few months to go. In 2011, under the banner of the Cameroon People's Party, you ran for the presidential
elections. Yes.
Are you going to run this time around?
We have been clear at the level of the Cameroon People's Party, and we have been clear with our platform, Stand Up for Cameroon, where we stand with other political parties, with NGOs, with ordinary citizens. Metraliscom is a member of Stand Up for Cameroon. We have been clear in that platform that you cannot have an electoral system which is opaque, where the Cameroonian citizen registering for elections is a gymnastics which is unimaginable, where the electoral database is completely opaque for the political parties that we are. We don't know what is in the electoral database. Today they declare us this number, tomorrow they declared another one. For example, in 2018, the last election, Elecam claimed that there were almost 1 million fewer voters than when I voted in 2011. Now, this is for a population which is growing tremendously. By what miracle are you having fewer voters, 1 million fewer voters? Let us note that Mr. Biya himself has never won the vote, even with all the fraud and so on, has never won it by 4 million votes. So when you change the electoral register by 1 million votes, you have changed the election. So we don't have a clear explanation to that. Now they told us they have registered 8-point-something million voters in by the end of the year 2024. Then they themselves come back and say, oh, there are 100,000 plus voters who we had to remove from the system because the biometrics did not work. Then they themselves, the same Elecam, without redoing the biometrics, they say, oh, we have put the 100 and something thousand people. What kind of nonsense is this? So
are you running or you are not running?
So we have said since 2014 in Stand Up for Cameroon that the fight in Cameroon today is not about elections. It is a fight for fundamental rights, including the right to free and fair elections. And we are, at the level of the CPP and at the level of Stand Up for Cameroon, we are on full campaign mode. This is an electoral year, this is a political year. We are on full campaign mode, but we are not campaigning for a presidential seat. We are not going to accompany Mr. Biya in his charade of elections. We are on campaign, and we ask that Cameroonians join us. Let us fight for what is the step one in Cameroon, which is fundamental human rights. That is the right to speak. No Cameroonian should be threatened because they have given their political opinion. This is guaranteed to us by the Constitution of Cameroon.
Which means that you are not asking Cameroonians to go and register in elections?
No, we do not ask people to go and register for a charade. We have a charade. We have, how many years have we been accompanying Mr. Biya to go and vote? You people are the journalists. How many years? You can write the report of that election result now. It has not changed since 1992. It's the same report we have been writing. After with the electoral result, we say, whoa, there was fraud. Whoa, there was this. But we must change the rapport, the force. This is the only stake in Cameroon. The government of Cameroon does what it likes because there is no force in front of it, stopping it from breaking the law, from trampling over our rights, and from having fraudulent elections. This is what we must determine.
Yeah, but history holds it that you were the first female candidate to run for elections, and you actually had, I think you were the 6th.
Yes.
Steps, and you had about 0.77%.
Yes.
And people will wonder, some people will still want, maybe if she ran for elections, these numbers will also come and will give her more credibility and visibility.
I don't have a credibility problem.
Visibility.
I don't have a visibility problem. We can do the exercise. You and I can walk on the street right now. I don't have a visibility problem. I don't have a credibility problem. The elections in Cameroon...
Let's put it this way, maybe the impact that you impact on the lives of people, they will see you as somebody who they can emulate and maybe also try to follow your footsteps and then bring about the change that you're talking about.
I don't have an impact problem. I don't have an impact problem. If you, like I say, you and I can do the exercise. We walk on the street here, and within 5 minutes, you will meet young people who walk up to me and who will give you their story of how they are emulating my leadership, how they are trying in their domain, not to talk of young women. The impact on women, the impact on youth is fantastic. So there is no Kah Walla problem in Cameroon. You know, we must stop this discourse about individuals. There is no, I hear a lot of debate, who is going to be the presidential candidate. There's no problem of candidacy in Cameroon. Cameroon has the ability to produce dozens of presidential candidates. There's no candidacy problem. There is a problem with the electoral system that does not allow any other candidate than Mr. Biya to be elected. And therefore, we must address the electoral system and stop all discussion about candidates. This is a distraction. We do it every time. We distract ourselves. This has been happening since the days of the Frundis. Where, oh, is it Frundi? Is it Namjoya? How has that gotten us anyway? This is a total distraction of the Cameroonian people.
Talk about the youth. The youth are actually looking for somebody who can give them that compass so that they can face the challenges and then unlock the potentials in Cameroon. I mean, and they see you as somebody. If you are not running, where do you leave this youth?
The problem of the youths, and we must educate the youths. We must educate the youths. One is that we must stop this nonsense of looking for a savior. Kah Walla is going to save us, Cabral is going to save us, Camtro is going to save us, OC is going to save us. No. There are no saviors. People decide and act for their future. People decide and act for their future. And what we are seeing around the world today is a lesson to us that do not depend on any individual human being. Human beings are just that, human beings. Meaning that Kah Walla has a lot of good qualities, but she has her faults.
As a human being.
As a human being, any other person you are going to put there is going to have good qualities, but is going to have faults. What then must we be focused on? We must be focused on building a system that keeps Mr. Boney Mua in check if he's in power. We must be focused as people who have lived over 60 years in dictatorship. 42 years for the last dictatorship. We had a first dictatorship, now we are on our second dictatorship. We cannot make the mistake of saying we are giving to individual X or individual Y to save us. We must focus on what is essential. That is the building of systems. One, that ensure fundamental rights, which means that when we say ensure fundamental rights, some people might not understand. It means that the northerner in Cameroon feels that I am 100% Cameroonian. They don't give resources to one part of the country and then they forget me in the north. It means that the Anglophone feels that I am 100% Cameroonian citizen. Do you know what my first question to the said was yesterday? I said, I am an English-speaking Cameroonian. Why do you write to me in French? What? This country is officially bilingual, and we are in a period where we have been fighting a war with over 10,000 people dead because you do not recognize us as full Cameroonians. And yet, you summon me to the said, and you write your summons in French. I am a public figure. You know that I am English-speaking Cameroonian. Kindly address all of your correspondences to me in the future in English. Or they mumbled a little bit. The person who was leading the inquiry said, "Oh, do you want if you want the inquiry to happen in English, I can go and get a translator." I told him, "No, my French is good enough to have the inquiry," because of course he was just going to waste my time. But this is a symptom of the fundamentals that are wrong in this country, and that we should be addressing. How does each citizen, how do we build a country where the citizen in the East feels that I am 100% citizen, just like the person living in Douala or living in Yaoundé? These are the questions which are before us, and our belief at the level of the Cameroon People's Party and at the level of Stand Up for Cameroon. I'm very sorry, Mr. Boney Mua, I think you're a nice person, but I will not take the country and give you and then begin to pray that I hope he does a good job. I hope we are not willing to do that to any Cameroonian. And we are saying that me, as a political leader who wants to run Cameroon, make no mistake about it, I am a presidential candidate. I want to run this country. My party, the Cameroon People's Party, we have a program for Cameroon which we want to implement. But we say everything is done step by step. When you want to build a house, you don't start by the roof, you start by the foundation. Presidential elections is the roof. You start with the foundation, which is the rewriting of the Constitution. It is rewriting the Constitution so that we determine what is the form of state that will make every Cameroonian comfortable. We believed in a decentralized or a federal state. Can we sit together as Cameroonians and determine the form of state? Can we sit together as Cameroonians and rewrite a constitution which reflects that? Can we sit together as Cameroonians and redefine the electoral system so that Cameroonians will register to vote? We are close to 30 million Cameroonians. There has never been an election in Cameroon where 10 million people registered to vote. Never. Okay? This is unacceptable. If you look at the statistics, as I say, Mr. Biya himself, he won the last election at 2.5 million. Meaning that less than 10% of Cameroonians voted for him. He is therefore an illegitimate president. But we will never get legitimate elections until we have a good electoral system where every Cameroonian feels like if I go and register, my vote will count. These are the fundamentals which we say we should fight for. And we are appealing to our political colleagues, stop the masquerade. Stop the masquerade of saying, oh, well, I'm going to do campaign, I'm going to do this, and accompany Mr. Biya once again. There is a fight which we should fight together, which is not a fight about candidates, which is not a fight about political parties. It is a fight about Cameroonian citizenship. What all of these people who are about to go to campaign should do, we should join together and carry out massive non-violent action. Mr. Mua, you were here in 1991. In 1991, we had more rights than we have today. We held political meetings without asking for permission. Political candidates were able to move freely around the country. We were able to hold our programs. Why? Because we had power on the streets. The government has not changed. It's the same government, which is the same regime, which is there. But today, they do not fear us. Today, they feel like they can walk all over us because we are not demonstrating our massive power as a people. Governments should always fear their people. No matter who you put into power, that person should have it in the back of his mind that if I do not work in the interests of these people, they may one day rise up against me.
Yeah, you talk about people's power. Recently, we heard about the outings of the Cameroonian bishops in their meeting in Buea. The bishop, Bishop Clergy, the one of Yagwa, Ngaundiri, honestly, calling on the head of state not to stand or calling on Cameroonians to take their responsibilities. What is your take on that?
My take is that this is a good step one. We have been waiting for the bishops. So I feel like, to me, I said finally. Because the bishops, by definition, not only the Catholic bishops, but every religious leader is a shepherd of the people. They are guides, and people, when they are suffering from hunger, when they are suffering from ill health, when they are not able to send their children to school, people are coming to them. So they have a clear thermometer, clear indicators about how bad life is for the average Cameroonian. So the fact that they have not been speaking up to now, I'm sorry, to me means they have not been doing their job. Because they know how bad it is. So I was very happy. I thoroughly support the bishops in their stance. And I hope that it is only step one. It is only step one. Why? I want to, I wish the answers in Cameroon were simple. Some people try to behave as if the answers are simple. They are not. After 60 years of dictatorship, there are no simple answers. I wish the answer was as simple as Mr. Biya not running. It's not, because I tell people, be careful what you ask for. Let us say that the people in power, because Mr. Biya, I'm sorry, for the last 15 to 20 years, he has not been running operations in Cameroon. He simply cannot. There is an energy level, there are things which are required to run a country which he cannot fulfill. So it means that there is a group that has been in power for the last 20 years, because people tell us, oh, we wonder what will happen if he's no longer there. I don't wonder. I know what will happen. The people taking the decisions today have already demonstrated to us what type of governance they will do. So if he is no longer there, right now he is simply a pawn serving those people in power to maintain the status quo. And they need him for that. And believe you me, as long as Mr. Biya is breathing, they will maintain him in that position. Yes. But I want to say this, for those who are focused on Mr. Biya should not run. Okay, we maintain the same electoral system. We don't change the electoral system.
Look for somebody.
We maintain the oppression that we know against the opposition. And then we have a candidate who is either Mr. Mutaze, Mr. Ngongo, Mr. Frank Biya. Have we solved our problem? Do you see the importance of removing the focus from candidates and putting it on the system? This is the importance. Even the candidature of Mr. Biya is of no importance, because as long as we have a system that will oppress all others to the benefit of the CPDM, as long as the CPDM confuses the state of Cameroon with the political party, which is the CPDM, which we have seen the Minister of Territorial Administration in the last week. He is meeting with traditional leaders to give Mr. Biya's candidacy. He's meeting with political parties to endorse Mr. I'm not paying my taxes. I'm not paying his salary for him to do CPDM campaign.
Yes, coming back on
what kind of nonsense is this?
Of Territorial Administration, you've been very hard on the minister. Your last outing, you famously called him my Abakwa brother, but still you were hard on him that he's just doing what he's not supposed to do.
Exactly.
What prompted you to come up with that type of outing?
He is my Abakwa brother. We are both from Abakwa. So we have something in common. But I was reminding him in my letter that as a minister of the Republic of Cameroon, number one, he is our employee. As I said in the letter, we are not his boss. We are his boss's boss. How dare he then, as a minister, stand on the national television and insult us and talk to us in a degrading manner, tell us about Moulinex and this, and threaten us, the people of Cameroon? What level of madness is this? It is unacceptable. We will not accept it. So that is number one. The Minister of Territorial Administration in his form is out of line. In his content, he is out of line. I have met him personally.
One-on-one.
One-on-one, where we were a group from Stand Up for Cameroon who met him. And like I say, there are some things I like about him. What I like about him is that there's no pretense. He tells you openly that he is not a champion of the CPDM. He is a champion of Mr. Paul Biya. So he is a Biyaist, and he will defend Biya to the grave. That has the merit of being clear and of enabling you to know what you are up against. And I don't have a particular fixation on him. I don't have a fixation on individuals, except that he is a flag bearer for this regime. He is one of the flag bearers. There are others. And he has chosen to be the flag bearer who is in the media all the time talking to us as Cameroonians. So he has to bear the brunt of the position that he has chosen to take. But make no mistake, I don't get confused about individuals. There has always been an Atanganji in Mr. Biya's government. The last one was called Issa Chiruma. Before Issa Chiruma, it was this guy of Zero More. I'm forgetting his yes, Konche Komeni. So in Mr. Biya's configuration of a government, there is always that absurd individual who says the unacceptable, who pushes the line, because what they are doing by saying things which are unacceptable is pushing Cameroonians further away from their rights, further away from what they deserve as a people. So this type of individual has always existed. Mr. Taganji himself as a person is of no consequences. If he's there, not there tomorrow, there will be another one. So when we are pushing back, we push back on principle. We push back on the principle that we are not to be insulted by ministers which our taxes pay. The woman who sells on the side of the road, she pays 100 francs to every day to be able to sit on the side of the road. And it is that 100 francs that pays Mr. Antangaji. He can therefore not address her anyhow.
Goshen Land City, a cozy way of living at home away from home. A majestic twin tower situated at Limbe, opposite the entrance to Mile 6 Beach Limbe. Beautifully couched between Mount Cameroon and the Atlantic Ocean. We offer various packages: business class lodges with 2 bedrooms, executive apartments with 3 bedrooms, royal attic suites with 2 bedrooms. All provided with luxurious sitting rooms, Porsche bedrooms, well-equipped functional kitchens, exquisite toilets, and sea-view verandas, giving you an idea of Equatorial Guinea by night. A standby generator ensuring constant electricity supply, full autonomy and clean running water, Wi-Fi, TV packages, secure parkings, plus laundry, shuttle, and car rental services available. We are ideally suited for couple, family, or group stays. Whether visiting or holidaying in the tourist city of Limbe, Goshen Land City is your best bet. Discover Goshen Land City for its exquisite beauty, and you'll come back for its impeccable services. Contact us at 675-113-244 or 688-358-436.
Madam Kah Walla, honestly, in the present political context, would you say we need a government of national unity, a transitional government to rewrite the constitution, to start a fresh leaf, or what do we do, or go for elections?
Thank you for that question. The Stand Up for Cameroon says, 1, we must fold the bags, pack the suitcases of the Biya regime and go to one side. Because dictatorship, you cannot build anything with dictatorship. So in the same way that the Burkinabe packed the bags of Compaoré, that the Tunisians packed the bags of Ben Ali, that the Egyptians packed the bags of Mubarak, we must pack the bags of Mr. Biya and all his system to one side. Our stance on
packing the bag means you call for a revolution,
of course,
a military takeover or something.
No, all the examples I've cited for you have been done by the citizens of that country non-violently. We are non-violent in principle, in strategy, and in action, despite the violence of the regime. And all the regimes I've just cited for you were very violent regimes, but their people overcame them with non-violent action. This is why mass action is important. The only power we have, Mr. Mua, faced with the gun, faced with the SED, faced with the gendarmes, faced with the police, our only power is numbers. And if Cameroonians are unwilling to stand as we did in the 90s, to stand as we did in 2008, to stand and to demand.
That's the hungry,
the strikes.
The farming
yes, yes. The strikes. No, please, that's a wrong name. 1, nobody was rioting. People were marching and demanding their rights.
The farming protest.
The violence came from the state of Cameroon as usual. 2 is that those protests, please, we were in 2008. Mr. Biya had just changed the constitution to maintain himself in power forever and ever. So the protests were certainly about the price of food, but they were more fundamentally about the blocking of the possibility of political change which had just occurred. So we believe at Stand Up for Cameroon, 1, we must ask them to go, but that is only step 1. Step 2 is that we must have a national dialogue. We must have in 1960s, in 1959, the UPC was asking for Cameroonians to sit. They even wanted it before reunification. You see how smart they were. to say we have been living one part under the French and one part under the English. We need to sit down and figure ourselves out before we create
reunification before independence.
Yes, reunification before independence. This was the UPC mandate. We did not follow it, and here we are today. In the 90s, we said we need a sovereign national conference. Mr. Biya managed to kick it to the side, and here we are today. Today, we say we need a true democratic national dialogue. Why? Because the identity of the state of Cameroon has never been defined. Because the acknowledgement of our history, the Anglophone Cameroonian, comes from a different place than the Francophone Cameroonian. And I am somebody who believes we should live together. We must live together. But for us to live together in a way that is fair and right for everybody, we must dialogue. We must determine the form of the state. Having states with autonomy, regions with political, financial, social autonomy is one of the ways we believe that we will satisfy the needs of every citizen, instead of concentrating all of the power, all of the money in Yaoundé.
Yes, when we look at the political landscape in the country today, we see an overwhelming presence of the ruling CPDM. And then we see political parties like the Cameroon Renaissance Party, the SDF, CDU, UPC, and UNDP are cornered in some regions. Honestly, how do you think we can really move this country when we look at the political parties? The CPDM is overwhelming, and the other parties can't even.
So, I think, Mr. Mua, that it is not enough to realize that the political parties have been relegated because they did not arrive there by accident. In the 90s, as we said, the SDF was a national party. In the 90s, the UNDP was a national party. So we must ask ourselves, what happened? What happened is that rights have been restricted. The Biya regime has pushed and pushed and pushed, and we have allowed them to push as Cameroonians until they can relegate a party to a region. You are presently sitting in our CPP headquarters. Our neighbors, ask any of our neighbors, any given morning they wake up, for yes or for no, the building is surrounded. An armored car, can you imagine? An armored car is sitting on the corner of this quiet residential neighborhood. You see an armored car parked there. So, Mr. Mua, why do you want to go far? Let me just ask you a question. As a citizen, if you know that this is my headquarters, and that in a space of 1 year, 5, 6, 7 times, you wake up and police or gendarme have surrounded, you see armored cars standing, are you going to join the party? I'm not talking about the person in the north. Yeah. I'm talking about you, who is my neighbor, with whom I can dialogue every day. If you feel, Cameroonians have been made to feel that belonging to a political party is something special, is something negative, is something, people look at you as if you are so courageous to join a political party. This is inscribed in the Constitution of Cameroon. Your right to your political opinion, your right to political activity, our rights as political parties to carry out activities, our premises are violated all the time. All the time it happens that the police walk in, the gendarmes walk in, they want to arrest people. We had members of our platform, Stand Up for Cameroon, 5 members. Mr. Mua, they attended a meeting in this very building, the same as you. They walked out of here they walked for 200 meters, they were arrested, and they spent the next 18 months in jail. Till today, unfortunately, not a single one of them can tell you why they were arrested or why they were released.
And you, the leader of the political party, what did you do?
Oh, they have been released because of our action.
18 months?
Yes, yes. Oh, there are people who were arrested with them who are still in jail. There are people who were arrested with them for political activity who are still in jail. So we were, as Stand Up for Cameroon, we followed up, we provided lawyers, we provided assistance to them while they were in jail, and we were in court every single day protesting when they were in court. And that is how they got released. So when we have a regime that is behaving like that, please leave the political parties alone. We always have this tendency of, oh, political parties, why are you not doing this? We don't have a problem of political parties in Cameroon. We have a problem of fundamental rights. Let's put the rights in place. You will be surprised. You will not even be talking about the people that you are talking, because there are so many Cameroonians who want to do something for their country, who want to help to build this country, but who are not willing to take the risk that we are willing to take. And nobody should have to take a risk to contribute to nation building. So what we have to do is eliminate the risk. That is the task at hand. Eliminate the risk. There should be no violence because you want to carry out political activity.
Yes, you said your political party, the CPP, is not running for presidential elections. I would like you to size up those who've already declared their intentions to run. Professor Maurice Kamto.
My comments to those who have declared their intentions to run
Starting with Professor
yes.
Kamto, yes.
They are actually the same for everybody who has decided to run. So you can call the names and I will give one question at the time, but they remain the same. So Professor Maurice Kamto in 2020 refused to run for municipal and legislative elections, saying that the electoral system was bad, following his experience of the presidential elections in 2019. So there is a simple question for him. What has changed? What has changed that enables us now to go to elections?
Miracle, maybe?
I don't believe God has already performed his miracle on Cameroon. We are a blessed nation with every resource, with everything that you can ask for in this life. Those of us, I travel a lot. When you travel around the world is when you realize the degree to which Cameroon is blessed. So any God that you believe in, their job is done. They have now handed it over to us. The job is now ours. So what has changed? What have we done differently for us to now believe 5 years later that the same electoral system with fewer rights than in 2018, because all we have
about 7 years later
we have described has been happening in the last 7 years, pushing us back, further back on rights. What has changed to enable us to go to elections?
The next candidate, Akere Muna.
The question to Akere Muna would be, Akere Muna is an Anglophone. In 2018, one of the elements that was at stake was the fact that Anglophones were not able to participate in these elections.
Because of the crisis?
Because of the crisis. We saw sham results, which everybody acknowledged were sham results coming from the Northwest and the Southwest. So the question is, how many Anglophones will die because you have decided to go for elections? Because Anglophones died in 2018 because we decided, in spite of the crisis, to carry out elections.
But it's like now there is that general clamor for an Anglophone to become president.
Where is the general clamor?
We hear people saying about it. People
where is the general clamor?
People talk about it.
And believe you me, once again, let us go to rights. Of course, Anglophones should have equal opportunity to become president in this country. But being an Anglophone is a qualification for nothing at all. Mr. Atanganji is an Anglophone. Mr. John Gute is an Anglophone. What have they done for us? What have they done for us as Anglophones? We should not vote for anybody. At the center of this Anglophone crisis are the CPDM Anglophones. People driving the crisis, pushing the crisis, getting rich off the crisis. Let us not make any mistake. Being an Anglophone should not be, as it has been in the past, something which eliminates you from being president, but neither is it solely on the fact that you are an Anglophone a qualification for being president. And if you are going to run as an Anglophone, one of the reasons that I believe we need a transition first is that we must reconcile with the Anglophone part of the country. We must have an Anglophone part of the country. The Northwest and the Southwest must be able to exercise their rights fully without fear of anybody with a gun, be they a soldier or be they a non-state armed group. You should be able to exercise your rights. Will that be the case in October? Will people be able to vote in the Northwest and Southwest without fear for their lives? That is the question.
Another contender, potential contender, Cabral be good. How do you size him up?
The question I have for him is, how are you going to participate in an election when fundamental rights are not guaranteed? Mr. Limbe, in 2018, when he was a candidate, the first day of the official campaign, his meeting was banned. The first day, when the campaign was launched, his meeting was banned. He cried, whoa, 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 my rights are not being respected. From that day till today, in fact, we are uncertain whether Mr. Limbe will be able to deposit his candidature with his party, because the Minister of the Electoral Administration has taken it upon himself, as he tried with our CPP, to enter into the political party and become a militant in that party to decide who. He has left his own party, CPDM, to enter inside and decide who is president or not. I saw a picture of the founder of that party yesterday
endorsing President Paul Biya.
Endorsing President Paul Biya, despite the court decision which says that that person is no longer the leader of the party. This is the confusion in which Mr. Limbe wants us to go to elections. Do we not have a few things to sort out beforehand, before we talk about elections? Mr. Mua, I'm going to say this to your audience. Citizens have to realize that political parties have interests in elections which are not the interests of the people. When you are a political party, if you are interested only in your political party, you can go in for bad elections, because if you have one parliamentarian, well, that's a little bit of money for that individual. Maybe the person will help to finance the party better. If you have one mayor, you have a little bit of control over a city. But please, as Cameroonians, let us look at our political history. We have had multi-party elections in this country since 1990. We have had mayors. At one time, if you take the Northwest region, out of 38 councils, 32 were controlled by the opposition. We have had moments in parliament where we had 80, 90 parliamentarians, not like today where we are down to almost nothing. The lives of the average Cameroonian, the question we have to ask ourselves is, did we get water? Did we get light? Did we get roads because those people were parliamentarians or because they were mayors? Did we get schools? Did we get health centers? The fact that we did not, the fact that people have been in parliament, including Mr. Limbe himself, including Mr. Kamto, who had a parliamentarian at one point in time, the fact that these people who have been in offices and that nothing has changed for the life of the average Cameroonian over 30 plus years today that we have had multipartyism tells us that the problem is not with the individual. The problem is not with political parties. The problem is with the intrinsic system that is governing Cameroon, and therefore we must focus and remove that system and build a new one. That is the only way in which the lives of the average Cameroonian will be better.
We cannot talk about candidates without talking about the incumbent, 92 years old, Paul Biya. He has not officially stated that he's running, but his political party, members, they are endorsing him. Traditional rulers, mayors, regional presidents. How do you size him up?
Two comments. The statistics of Cameroon size him up. This is somebody who has been running the country for the past 42 years.
As president?
As president.
But before he was prime minister?
As 42 years as president with overwhelming executive powers as president. Today, 40% of Cameroonians live under the poverty line. The international poverty line is about 1,800 francs a day. 4 out of every 10 Cameroonians in a country that has oil, that has diamonds, that has bauxite, that has coltan, that has every resource that you can imagine is in this beautiful land of ours. In a country which is the gateway to Central Africa. We are the door to the region. Other parts of Africa have used the fact of being the door to a region. Go to Kenya and see how they have used their geostrategic position of being the gateway into East Africa to develop their country. We are here as Cameroonians, 4 out of every 10 do not have 1,800 francs a day to live. We are here as Cameroonians, 30% of us, that is 1 out of every 3, do not have water, potable water to drink 42 years after Mr. Biya has been in power. When we were off, we were just talking about the roads in Cameroon. The roads are so bad that the Director General of the Delegate General of National Security, who is as old as Mr. Biya, is his contemporary, so he does not move around much. And unfortunately to him, he had to go down to Mutengene for the police school graduation. And it was so overwhelming that he, in a public statement, he said, but this is incredible. We cannot, the roads cannot be in this state. And of course he was right. But what was the response to him? The response to him was that, Mr. Delegate General, you are complaining about the Minister of Transport and the Minister of Public Works. You are unable to provide us with identity cards. So, and if you start that blame game in Mr. Biya's government, every minister has blame. We cannot talk about Minister of Health. We are still looking for COVID funds. We don't know what they did with them. You cannot talk about the Minister of Education. You cannot talk. So the problem is Mr. Biya. So one is that the absurdity of a 93-year-old man who has been in power for 42 years, imagining that he is going to govern Cameroon again. I mean, I often ask the question, we say we are Bantus, we are Africans. You would send your 93-year-old, so you people will sit in a house as Africans, and you send your 93-year-old father to the farm to go and work on the farm for you people to eat? Where and when has this ever occurred? We have had, Mr. Moore, let me finish on this. My grandmother in her 70s, I'm saying 70, that's 20 years younger than what Mr. Biya is today. She was very spry and active, and she wanted to continue going to the farm. The family had a family meeting, and we banned her from going to the farm. We created a small garden behind the house because she absolutely wanted to work, and said, Madam, please, you work here. But the big farm where you have to go is not a place for you. So if families can do that at the family level, then what is wrong with us as a nation, as an entire nation of 30 million people?
Away from the potential candidates, let's talk about the Anglophone crisis, because most of our discussion has been hinging around the Anglophone crisis. What can be done to bring about an end to this crisis that has been raging for more than 9 years?
I will give you the solution which we gave to the government of Cameroon, because despite the fact that we think they should go, on many crises we engage with them, because we are constantly in our party reflecting on solutions for our country. So in 2021, we met, I told you I met with Mr. Tanganji, it was over the Anglophone crisis. We met with the Minister of Reconstruction at the time. We met with the Minister of Defense to say, here are the steps for us to end this crisis. Number one, we must put down the different stakeholders. This is not only the armed groups, because sometimes people only see dialogue between the armed groups and the government, only between the people doing violence. The majority of us as Anglophones, we are non-violent, but our lives are impacted by the crisis. We must be a part of any dialogue that is going on. So we said, bring together all of the stakeholders and agree on a pathway. The pathway being what? One, we must have consensually accepted mediators. Because when there is a conflict between you and me, we need somebody whom we both agree upon as neutral and competent to resolve the crisis. So one is that we must agree on a pathway. We must define a team of mediators, because as the situation is right now, one person cannot mediate. One dialogue cannot resolve the problem. And then we said there are 13 divisions between the Northwest and the Southwest. We must start dialogue at the municipal level. There are about 63 municipalities in the Northwest and Southwest. We must start dialogue at municipal level, because the conflict has metastasized. It is all over. The armed groups are all over. The group here is not controlling the group there, is not controlling the group there. It is therefore now local issues. So we must have a dialogue at local level. The people at local level must make decisions about reconciliation. We have examples of this. It has been done around the world. It was done in South Africa, Truth and Reconciliation. It was done in Rwanda after the genocide. It was done in Colombia with the fact after. So we have so many examples we can learn from and build our own process. But we must have local dialogue. Why? Because in the Anglophone region today, I am your neighbor, your son has killed my son. If we do not resolve that, we will never resolve the crisis. So we must have local dialogue where we decide upon punishment, because of course those who have killed, those who have raped, they must face a form of punishment. They must acknowledge what they have done, and there must be an agreed upon mechanism for them to pay a price to the society. We know that it's not the regular prison term. So the other thing we told the government was that you must create a legal framework for this, because let me tell you, what they are doing with DDR is totally illegal. There is no legal framework that permits somebody.
It is producing results.
It is not producing results. It is not. If it were producing the results, the crisis would be over. They have created something where there's no legal framework. There's no law in Cameroon which permits you to commit murder and then come and put down your gun and be forgiven. So we must create the legal framework for this. Transitional justice is what it is called. We must have dialogue at local level. We must reconcile the communities at local level. And it is after that process has been done at the local level, you can do that simultaneously in the 13 divisions of the Northwest and the Southwest. Then from there, you come to a regional dialogue, because there is dialogue to be had with the Southwest and dialogue to be had as the Northwest. Then you come to a dialogue between the two regions, because let us not pretend there is a Northwest-Southwest issue which needs to be resolved. And it is when these have been resolved that we now bring this information to a national dialogue with the rest of the country. This is the process. It is a process which requires time and dedication, but it is a process which can move quickly if we have credible mediators. The government cannot be a mediator. It is an actor in the crisis. At the local level, these dialogues we are talking about, they include dialogue with the armed forces which are there, who have committed rights violations. They include dialogue with the divisional officers and the sub-divisional officers who have committed rights violations. So the dialogue must be, you must have an agreed upon third neutral party that can conduct this dialogue bottom up. And then we get to the transition, political transition in the country as a whole. And that is, you're going to that transition with the Anglophones having identified for themselves their own way forward.
When did you last go to the village, Madam Kah Walla?
So, I have not been to my own village, Pinin, since 2017. I have lost people. I have most recently, last year, I wanted to go to the village because our family head passed away. My aunts, I called them and said, I'm coming. They immediately started crying. That
was when?
And this was, you are talking about 2023,
yeah,
right?
Yes,
so, no, Bamenda, you can go to Bamenda. This I'm talking about because, yes, let us not talk about Bamenda. Bamenda is a central town where you can get in and you can go out, and my particular house is in upstation. So I don't want to give false impressions. Not because we can go to Bamenda that the region is safe. You know, we can, and here is the thing. This is what my aunts told me, They said, no, you have the means. You can come in and get out safely. But what will happen to us the day after you have left?
But now you have a new traditional ruler, because there was a vacuum in Pinyin for a long time. The new traditional ruler, Kenneth Asobo. It is like there's a semblance of peace in your place now.
Listen, this is not about Pinyin. This is not about Pinyin. I just lost a friend. Somebody who is, I think she was a year younger than me, who died in Yaoundé. And the family, they are from Batu. Batu is a suburb of Bamenda.
Bamenda, right.
They wanted to go for burial. They were asked by the boys, as we call it, those of us who are from that region, people say the boys have said this, the boys have said that. They were asked by the boys.
The boys, we pampered them, and when you say the boys.
Yes, these are the armed groups. These are the armed groups. They were asked to pay 1 million francs as passageway to be able to bury. They paid. They paid. They got to Bamenda and they received another call and said, you must add 2 more million if you want to be able to come to the village. She ended up being buried in Bamenda. This is the reality of the Anglophone experience today.
And many are being buried in Yaoundé and Douala now.
This is where you want to go for elections. This is where you are saying, oh, elections is fine, everything is fine, let's go for elections. How are you going to campaign in these areas? How are people going to campaign in these areas? And believe you me, that is why I asked, how many Anglophones are going to die? Why? Because those of us who are national leaders, we have the means, we have the notoriety, we can even ask for gendarme or police escort and so on. But what happens to my CPP member who lives in that community after I have gone? What is the risk that we are asking those people to bear? In 2018, people were killed atrociously for having participated in elections. In 2020, the same thing happened. So when we are talking at this national level, please, let us talk with the interests of the people on the ground. If we say we are for change, please let us not stop behaving like Mr. Biya. Mr. Biya told us that when Yaoundé breathes, the rest of the Cameroon is living. I don't believe that as a leader. I believe that Pinyin should breathe, Ekondo Tinti should breathe, Meganga should breathe, every part of Cameroon should breathe. So let us focus on the systems that allow every citizen of Cameroon to breathe. And when that citizen is breathing, they will make the right choice with regard to elections.
Madam Waha, it was a pleasure talking to you.
It was a very big pleasure talking to you.
I know we can talk on these issues till the next tomorrow.
Yes.
Goshen Land City, a cozy way of living at home away from home. A majestic twin tower situated at Limbe, opposite the entrance to Mile 6 Beach Limbe. Beautifully couched between Mount Cameroon and the Atlantic Ocean. We offer various packages: business class lodges with 2 bedrooms, executive apartments with 3 bedrooms, royal attic suites with 2 bedrooms. All provided with luxurious sitting rooms, Porsche bedrooms, well-equipped functional kitchens, exquisite toilets, and sea-view verandas, giving you an idea of Equatorial Guinea by night. A standby generator ensuring constant electricity supply, full autonomy and clean running water, Wi-Fi, TV packages, secure parkings, plus laundry, shuttle, and car rental services available. We are ideally suited for couple, family, or group stays. Whether visiting or holidaying in the tourist city of Limbe, Goshen Land City is your best bet. Discover Goshen Land City for its exquisite beauty, and you'll come back for its impeccable services. Contact us at 675-113-244 or 688-358-436.